Mayday, Mayday. Hello, can you hear us? Can you hear us? Can you... Over. We are sinking. We are sinking.
Hello? This is the German Coast Guard.
We are sinking. We're sinking.
What are you thinking about?
Hey, good morning, good afternoon, good evening, good night, wherever you are, whoever you are, whatever you're doing, whoever you're doing it with, however good it feels, however many times you're going to do it, why you're doing it in the first place. I'm just glad you're doing it here, right here on Legal Vices with me, Legal Vices, channel, person, same name. Well, it's not my real name, but you know. Anyway, welcome aboard. It's Maritime Monday. We haven't done a Maritime Monday in a while because we've been up to our earballs in Murdochs and in Mellies and everything like that. So today it's a good chance to get back to Maritime Monday. We've got a little bit of an incident that I don't know how much time is going to take. So I have a semi-pseudo kind of sort of related incident locked and loaded to go if we go drastically under time, but we know how much I talk. So we'll have to see how that goes. You know what time it is. It's that Maritime Monday time. And what that means, it can only mean one thing.
Look at me, sure. Look at me, sure. I'm the captain now.
All right. We're off to the races here with Aaron dropping the $2 super chat to start us off with the super chat marathon, I hope. Late and sober-ish. Oh, well, we'll have none of that. But we're dead cold sober here. Anywho, Stingy member for 11 months. One more and it'll be a full year. Wow. Thank you so much for the support for the full year-ish. When I'm on the submarine and open the sunroof underwater and everyone else screams, well, that unironically has happened before where literally that happened. But anyway, that's not the particular accident we're talking about today. Christina M. Quiroz has also been a member for 7 months. Thank you, Krista. Krista M. in the house. Thanks. Great to have you here. Well, before we get going, we have to do the drink of the day. It's Monday here. It was a holiday here in Korea, so I had the day off work. Kind of messed around, did some things, and here I am, Monday night, Korea time. Gonna give you the cocktail of the day. Today's drink of the day is the Hanky Panky cocktail. Start out with 3 ounces of gin. We're using just a Costco straight gin, nothing fancy. Drop it in an ice-filled mixing glass. 3 ounces of that. 3 ounces of sweet vermouth or red vermouth. Pour that in right on top of the gin. Oh, what a great sound. Drop that in. 1 more ounce. And then top that off with 4 dashes of bitters. 1, 2, 3, 4. Give it a good stir to chill the cocktail. I really need to set up the cocktail cam. It's really difficult to make cocktails sitting down in front of a microphone. All right, there we go. Once that is nice and chilled, just pour it off into a cocktail glass, and you will have your Hanky Panky cocktail. Me, I have enough for another one. And when you're done with that, give it a little orange wedge for a garnish. Fix that on there, and boom, there you go. The Hanky Panky cocktail. If you like gin, if you like bitter flavor of vermouth, match made in heaven. Great cocktail. All right, folks, there we are. As a non-drinker, you feel that these pours are rather small. The shit is that? Huh. All right, we have triggered the phone again. I've said something that has started YouTube on my phone, and it started the Amber Heard cross-examined by Johnny Depp's lawyer part 1 video. That was weird. Huh. Does that ever happen to anybody else? You're just sitting there minding your own damn business, and suddenly your phone decides it's going to start playing YouTube? It does that occasionally. Usually it's Law Talk with Mike that gets started somehow, but weird. Anyway, Daily Quick Bite says, how a Jeff orange slice that looks orange. That's about as orange as you get. You need help with your monitor if that doesn't look orange. Anyway, been there, done that was saying, as a non-drinker, I feel these pours are rather small. My recipes are always doubled. Actually, that should be an ounce and a half of gin and an ounce and a half of sweet vermouth. But I do 3 each because I double it. That's how I roll. Interesting. I've put the wrong corks on the wrong bottles. There we go. Rush to Judgment said your YouTube starts randomly all the time. Good. My phone doesn't have voice prompts. That's the thing. Because I hate that. It doesn't do the hey Bixby or whatever the hell that the Android phones do. But it just kind of just randomly starts every now and then. Usually when I'm on stream, it doesn't do it. So I don't know. I don't know whatever. We just deal with it. Jeff, you could pour a 5-gallon bucket and someone's always going to think it's not enough. I'm usually that guy. I'm like, that's only 5 gallons of alcohol. That's you're just not trying. But we try to make it just about right for cocktail night. Ben there says, I believe you, but if I poured a Diet Coke, it would be more than 3 ounces, lols. Yeah, I would hope so. All righty. Well, here we are. Oh, that's funny. Where'd that go? Where'd that comment go? Oh, yeah. Stingy says, well, you did say so it associated it with Amber Heard. That could be. All right. Well, here we are. This is us. It's a brand new week here. Monday night. Here we are sitting here with Maritime Monday. Tuesday is going to be part 13 of our Johnny Depp v. Amber Heard sidebar readings, hopefully with our full cast of Megan Fox, Chandler Remington, me, and Ozzy Overlord. And the same thing on Wednesday with part 14. But one of these 2 days, we may be joined by yet another voice actor. We may be joined by Nick Rekieta for one of these readings. He's going to try to make some time. So Tuesday or Wednesday, he may be here if he can work out the time. So don't know what day, don't know which one, but there is a possibility that Nick will be joining us for the readings. Thursday will be O.J. Simpson Day with Chandler Remington, my co-host for that stream. Friday, we've got a lot going on. Friday morning. Oh yes, thanks for pointing that out there. That is it is a bit of the orange peel. Thank you so much. Thank you, RL. I was saving that for later. So yeah. Anyway, now I've lost. Where were we? Monday is now. Tuesday, Wednesday, Johnny Depp, Amber Heard, with a possibility of a Nick sighting one of those days. Thursday, O.J. Simpson, as always. Friday morning U.S. time will be the YNW Melly hearing on the motion to dismiss the charges. We can't get into what that's all about, but go back and watch the last 2 Melly streams we did on last Friday so you can catch up on that nonsense. But they're having a motion to dismiss the charges. On Friday morning, we're going to be covering that. Then Friday evening U.S. time, we are going to be doing the October Halloween Friday the 13th F it Friday, where we just say F it and you throw all of your money at me and every $100 I take a shot. We get liquored up. We have a great panel of guests and we just go as long as my liver and interest holds out. Currently, we've the definitely yes and definite maybes we've got lined up already are Megan Fox, Steph the Alter Nerd, our very own Flux, Chrissy Mayer, Anna the Star Wars Girl, Jess, Waifu Kron Jess, Meme Copium, Nina Infinity is a definite maybe, Nicholas Starov, we haven't heard from him yet. Ian Runkle of the Bailey is a definite maybe, and Lauren De Laguna, and I guess that's it. That's the list so far. Oh, and possibly Nick as well. Nick may be joining the first part of that. There's more invitations to go out. There's more people that are asking to be on. There's a very good chance we will be having a new face in the crowd. Oh, yes. Talk with Sally. She's going to be there as well. That just popped into my mind. And there's a good chance we may have another new face or two in the crowd. So stand there. stand back and come and join the stream, and we will have fun. So, all right, that's what's coming up in the next week. And MG Law says he's up for it. Well, send me a formal request, MG Law, and we'll put you in rotation. Noted, duly noted, sir. And it's a Friday night, so there's a good chance you won't be driving. It's great. Right, we do have Maritime Monday to talk about today. Wow, this is an interesting one. The Chinese military is involved. So there's a lot of maybes involved in this one. There's a lot that we don't know. Well, in fact, most everything is something we don't know. Most everything is based on speculation. But we're going to get into it. So let's start with one of the first articles to come out about this event that may or may not have taken place a few days ago. And this is the Daily Mail exclusive at the time. 55 Chinese sailors are feared dead after a nuclear submarine gets caught in a trap intended to snare British and U.S. vessels in the Yellow Sea. Just calling it the Yellow Sea is racist, but that's what they call it. So, yes, they're feared dead. There's a trap that we'll be talking about the trap a little bit later, but there is a trap, and apparently a Chinese nuclear submarine caught itself in its own trap. So what could that possibly mean? Well, let's continue. 22 officers were among the 55 reported to have died in the Yellow Sea. China denies it happened and apparently refused international assistance. There have been other incidents like that we'll talk about later. 55 Chinese sailors are feared dead. And again, this was October 3rd. So 6 days ago was the first anyone heard of this. 55 Chinese sailors are feared dead after their nuclear submarine apparently got caught in a trap intended to ensnare British subsurface vessels in the Yellow Sea. According to a secret UK report, the seamen died. Yeah, come on, people. I know where this is going. Just get it all out of your system. Get all the semen out of your system now, people. According to a secret UK report, the seamen died following a catastrophic failure of the submarine's oxygen system, which poisoned the crew. The captain of the Chinese PLA Navy submarine 093417 is understood to be among the deceased, as were 21 other officers. Officially, China has denied the incident took place. It also appears Beijing refused to request international assistance for a stricken submarine. This is not the submarine in question. This is an illustrative photo showing a nuclear submarine. And a nuclear submarine apparently got caught in a trap in the Yellow Sea. And this is not where it happened. This is just a random part of the map. And my house is like right over here-ish. It's like right there. That's where my house is. Oh, I've doxed myself. Now, disaster beneath the waves. Ooh, what's this? August 21st, 8/12, Chinese submarine caught in chain and anchor obstacle. August 12th, and we're just now hearing about it? Chinese people, what say you? Yeah, so apparently August 21st, 8:12 a.m., Chinese submarine caught in chain and anchor obstacle, resulting in catastrophic failure of submarine's mechanical systems. Repairs take 6 hours before sub can resurface. By then, oxygen systems have malfunctioned, causing deaths from hypoxia of 55 crew. Well, this is a sort of an exploded version, so to speak, of or a cross section of such a submarine. Got the torpedo tubes and the bow sonar, the torpedo room, the control room. That's where all the action is. Some crew spaces. Apparently, the crew here are flailing about. And we've got some nuclear reactors in the back and propulsion machinery and the prop shaft and the rudder. So here's where the shaft is, and the seamen are up inside here. So just in case you were wondering. There's a bus scale down here. This is a very, very long submarine. This little red splotch here at the bottom is a bus. So it's a big ship. It's a big submarine. The UK report into the fatal mission reads, intelligence reports that on 21st of August, there was an onboard accident whilst carrying out a mission in the Yellow Sea. Incident happened at 8:12 local, resulting in the death of 55 crew members, 22 officers, 7 officer cadets, 9 petty officers, 17 sailors. Dead include the captain, Colonel Zhu Yongpeng. Our understanding is death caused by hypoxia due to a system fault on the submarine. The submarine hit a chain and anchor obstacle used by the Chinese Navy to trap U.S. and Allied submarines. This resulted in systems failures that took 6 hours to repair and surface the vessel. Well, the onboard oxygen system poisoned the crew after a catastrophic failure. That's not something you want to have happen, if indeed it did happen. So yeah, they got caught in the trap, and apparently, reportedly, their own oxygen supply system malfunctioned and poisoned them all. As yet, there's no independent confirmation of the suspected loss of the Chinese submarine in the public domain. Beijing has dismissed open source speculation about the incident as completely false, while Taiwan has also denied internet reports. So that's interesting that Taiwan would also be denying this, if it actually happened. Mail Plus approached the Royal Navy to discuss the details contained in the UK report, but official sources declined to comment or offer guidance. The UK report, which is based on defense intelligence, is held at a high classification. So somebody may have leaked something, and then they go, oh, let's talk about this leaked document. And they say, surprisingly, no comment. A British submariner offered this explanation. It is plausible that this occurred, and I doubt the Chinese would have asked for international support for obvious reasons. If they were trapped on the net system and the submarine's batteries were running flat, plausible, then eventually the air purifiers and air treatment systems could have failed, which would have reverted to secondary systems and subsequently and plausibly failed to maintain the air, which led to asphyxia or poisoning. We have kit which absorbs CO2 and generates oxygen in such a situation. It's probable that other nations do not have this kind of tech. Ooh, here we go. He's drinking a glass of wine. Thank you. Thank you, Xi. He toasts leaders and guests during an anniversary celebration of the PRC. This Chinese type 093 submarines entered service in the last 15 years. The vessels are 351 feet long. That's what's that? That's about 130 meters-ish. About 130 meters long. The Type 093s are among China's more modern submarines and are known for their lower noise levels. The sinking is understood to have taken place in waters off China's Shandong province. Well, that's where the mystery begins. There's a report over a month after this was supposed to have happened that this submarine incident happened in late August. We're just hearing about it now. That's very, very plausible. We'll have to see what else there is. But first of all, we have to kind of get an understanding of what exactly happened here. Let me bring up this picture. Open. Where are we? Where is the open image in new window? Open link in new window. I guess I'll have to deal with that. All right, this is an older picture, but it's kind of the best we've got at the moment. So this is what the Chinese apparently reportedly caught themselves in. This is more. This is a general basic plan. So what happens is they have these buoys that are set out, and then there's anchors at the bottom of these nets, and these nets just hang down in the water, and a submarine comes along and literally gets caught in these, and these can be made out of chain. So think of Game of Thrones, where they were doing their big naval attack, and the Lannisters waited till the ships got in, then they raised these gigantic chains behind them and prevented the ships from leaving. And we saw that on Vikings as well. Well, this is essentially the same thing. They drop these nets. You're prowling around where you shouldn't be prowling, according to whoever drops the nets, and you get caught in them, and it makes a really, really big mess, and is very, very difficult to get out of, and it causes problems. Kind of caught them in a gill net, kind of essentially. There's different things, but they've kind of basically remained the same for as long as there's been submarines. You just drop a curtain of some sort, and things run into it and they get stuck. And again, it takes a long time, and they're a pain in the ass to get out of. And everyone who gets caught in them are really, really embarrassed. Or, as the case may be, in this incident, they may be very, very dead. But we don't know because it's been unconfirmed. So again, what these anti-submarine nets are literally, you just place a boom across the mouth of a harbor or in a strait or someplace you want to protect, and they hang down there. Now, these were first used in warfare during World War I, according to Wikipedia, the greatest source of information on the internet. They were first used during World War I. And because they were a reaction during war, there was no time to study the best construction methods or the overall efficiency of them. But that was also a benefit because, the enemy, they didn't know how effective the nets were either. So everybody's using them. They're actually testing them in war conditions, and testing that was done after the war showed that the nets used during World War I had not really been that effective. But the fact that they existed was more of a deterrent because the enemy didn't know whether or not they were going to be effective, so they just avoided the places where they knew they had been laid. Well, apparently, if this incident happened, apparently they were very, very effective for the Chinese ship, if the Chinese ship got caught. Yay, it works. Great Chinese engineering, if it actually happened. Someone's not abiding by the catch and release rule for Chinese subs. Well, if it happened, it would be the Chinese that were not following the Chinese submarine catch and release. But again, it was big enough. See, there's like the catch and release. If they're really, really small, you release them. If they're really, really big, you release them. This was kind of on the really, really big side, so it'd been sitting around the water. Who knows? It could have been 100 years. Could make lots of little baby subs, so it probably should have been released, but something happened. Oh, so this trap was a condom for seagoing submarines full of, yes. Great Chinese engineering makes stuff that doesn't explode. It's probably happened, but who knows when? Well, there's another article that came out the next day. A lot of the information contained in that article is very, very similar, but there's also some additional bits and pieces that may have been gleaned as time went on. See, this is a thing where that probably says something really horrible, and if so, I have no responsibility for that. Just taking a guess. In fact, I'm so curious. We will take the random message and we will check. I recognize like 4 of the characters. And quickly, that particular message says I was supposed to see a rainbow is apparently what that said. So, and the very, very naughty, very, very on him and not me, John Gordon says, John Captain John Gordon, some John Gordon Ting, John Gordon Wong, etc., etc. John Gordon says, we, John Gordon, no. John Gordon said, move. John Gordon, ho. John Lee, Gordon, John Fook, John Gordon. See how I see this is, if someone's going to clip this, they're going to make it, I'm going to make it I'm going to make it a tough thing for them. Rip, never forget. All right, there we go. Phew. Got through most of that. Thank you very much, John Gordon. I suppose I do thank you for the super chat, though. Mexican Vader, there's probably video evidence of it happening on Live Leak. Oh, wait, it doesn't exist anymore. Well, funny you should mention that. I mean, not Live Leak, but other things. So let's take a look at this other article here. Share screen. Yeah, we're gonna finish way under time. So we get some advertisements. A beginner's guide to maritime law for just $12.9, down from the original $19.99. You can get a beginner's guide to maritime law and the online course of fuel purifier and clarifier basics. Take the course. All right, 55. Headline is pretty similar. This was the following day. 55 Chinese sailors presumed dead after nuclear submarine became trapped underwater, according to sources. Right, MG Law. According to Western intelligence estimates, 55. Again, this is the Western intelligence estimates as to dead, not estimates as to whether or not it happened. So Western intelligence sources seem to be saying, yes, it did. Whereas Chinese and, interestingly, Taiwanese sources are saying it didn't. Reports by, here we are. Estimates 55 Chinese sailors were killed when a nuclear submarine became stuck underwater. However, China denies this. Again, why would they admit it if it happened? That doesn't surprise me. Someone else that would have known, such as Taiwan, denying it is kind of interesting to me. Reports by UK intelligence. Specialists indicate that the 107-meter sub, I think it's a little bit longer than that. That's pretty short. Sub struck a special chain and anchor catch designed to trap Western vessels that keep lurking off Shandong region in China. This was the thumbnail picture we used. According to The Sun, the crew perished due to a catastrophic failure of the sub's oxygen system. It's unclear whether the trap impaired the oxygen system or if the crew had suffocated before the sub sunk and got trapped. The submarine is thought to be a Type 093 with torpedoes and stealthy ghost engines. Ooh, it's a Halloween story. Spooky ghost engines. According to a confidential briefing acquired by the Mail, on the 21st of August, there was an accident on board while conducting a mission in the waters off the LOC, or the waters of the LOC. The incident took place at 8:12 local time, killing 55 personnel and 9 petty officers, 7 cadets, 22 officers, and 17 sailors. Among the dead is the captain, the colonel. It is understood that the cause of death was hypoxia as a result of system failure. The submarine reportedly collided with a Chinese Navy and chain anchor. As a result, systems failed, took about 6 hours for repair, and to finally surface the vessel. See, now this is where the articles kind of conflict with themselves. They're saying that the deaths occurred. They were, where was that thing here? It's unclear whether the trap impaired the oxygen system or if the crew had suffocated before the sub sunk and got trapped. It doesn't say that the sub sunk. It said it got trapped. And it took 6 hours for the repairs and to finally surface the vessel. See, I'm thinking 6 hours is probably a very, very short period of time for someone to suffocate on a submarine. If somehow there was chemicals or toxic stuff being pumped through, then I mean that would make sense. But I think it seems odd that 55 people would suffocate in only 6 hours in a large submarine like that. Those of you maritime type people, and I know we have some Navy people, and there's occasionally some submariners here in chat. What do you guys say if there's any of you present here today? Excuse me while I cough. A substandard, substantial sub, right? 350 feet is 107 meters. Okay, Mr. Math. All right, then that's what it is. That just seems like there should be more meters in 350 feet. What if it was chilly day? Well, see, then that would be the poisoning rather than just the lack of oxygen. Don't they have O2 candles? In a sub that size with 70 men, the oxygen will run out quick. Well, we're saying it happened. They're saying it didn't. But if we look at another article that came out just the other day, oh dear, where is our, here we are. This was, hang on, click to unmute. This was on October 7th. And oh my God, I hate these kind of articles. Not the article itself. I mean, the way the website is presented. Legal Vices, can we send Meme Copium to investigate? He's a maritime lawyer after playing Obra Dinn. Well, we may not need to send him because this next article actually comes from Australia. Chinese submarine disaster mystery deepens. How is it deepened? Well, perhaps we can ask someone from news.com.au. The murky world of covert submarine operations has been highlighted with unsubstantiated reports of 55 deaths of a Chinese crew. But not all may be as it seems. Rumors began circulating on August 21st after anti-Chinese Communist Party activists' social media account, Lewd Media, unfortunately Lewd is spelled L-U-D-E and not L-E-W-D. Lewd Media posted a claim that Chairman Xi Jinping had received a briefing that all officers, crew, and students undergoing training aboard a Type 93 Sheng-class nuclear-powered attack submarine had died while performing a mission in the Taiwan Strait. After Taiwan's defense ministry rejected reports of an accident off its shores, Lewd Media and its affiliated English-speaking Dr. Li Mengyan account amended the location to a specific set of coordinates in the Yellow Sea between the Chinese province of Jiangsu and South Korea. I haven't seen anything in the South Korean news about this at all. They may have been there, I just have not seen it. It went on to name the vessel's captain and claim it was using a new secret pump jet propulsion system. Lewd Media had this to say about it, and there's no corroborating evidence has yet been found by open source intelligence enthusiasts or military analysts. So although they're saying this happened, there's been no disclosed evidence. In other words, online keyboard warriors haven't found anything, and military analysts haven't heard or found anything that they're talking about. Again, does this mean it didn't happen? Of course not. We just don't know because intelligence doesn't tell us everything they know. And sometimes they lie to us and tell us they know things they don't, or they don't know things they do. Well, the media repeats details initially posted by Lewd Media over the past 2 months. Incident happened at 8:12 local, resulting in the death of 55 crew members, 22 officers, 7. Okay, we went through all this in the Daily Mail. Extracts deads include, more Daily Mail stuff, and this goes through the Daily Mail. And Duan Dang says, regarding the rumor about Chinese submarine accident in Yellow Sea, Lewd Media, the original source, provides coordinates. This prompted me to examine satellite image from August 21 for unusual signs. Just take a look and not jump to conclusions. Well, here's something towing something. That's a very, very detailed way of putting it. Here is something towing something. That could quite literally be anything. Here is a suspicious ship. Not sure why it's suspicious. You'd probably have to cross-reference it with online maritime tracking of vessels, and the alleged coordinates of the accident are here on this yellow spot. And just to the right of that, just to the east of that, there's apparently a blue, red, and green helicopter. I don't know how they figure that's a helicopter, but it is. So there is some activity in the area. But again, this is one of the most heavily traveled sea routes in the world. Could be anything. It's the Loch Ness Monster finally caught Nellie. Well, Nellie apparently avoided the anti-sub nets and replaced it with an actual sub. And let's see what we've got loaded up here. I have to erase John Gordon's super chat from my brain. American Dreamer, who's been a member for 7 months. Did they hear anything? Not that anybody's saying. Reformed Convict with a $5 super chat. Thank you so much. It didn't say he died in 6 hours, but that after they found it, they had to work 6 hours before they could bring it to the surface. Fair enough. That makes sense. They could have been trapped long before they finally acknowledged what had happened, or before they found them, whatnot. That could be the case. You're absolutely correct. And David has been a member for 8 months. Thank you so much for your monthly member chat, David. Sub goes missing after testing exotic new drive system. I've seen this movie. Oh, yes, you have. And we're going to talk about another episode similar to this that we've already talked about. I'm only half loaded. Well, there you go. Oh, hey, everybody. According to Darth Hideous, there's 420 watching now. Now there's actually 431, but there was 420 at one point. So thank you for pointing that out. And while we're at it, let's point out that we have the like and subscribe poll up there. There is 437 people watching and 244 likes. So that means 200 of you, or just over 112 meters of you, have not hit that like button. 434 viewers, 252 likes. Get down there, smash that like button, and give us a subscription if you haven't already. And if you think you have subscribed, just do me that favor and double check to make sure. We're going northward. We're up over the 36,800 mark now. Melly has been good to us. Melly's bringing in some subs. But speaking of subs, Melly's been bringing in some subs. Let's make sure we bring in your subs, dear devoted viewers. Hit that like button, hit the subscribe button, and just double check, because YouTube is asshole and they randomly just unsubscribe people. And then take our little like and subscribe poll that we do every day, just to remind you. Pretty simple and straightforward today. Did you hit the like button? Are you subscribed? Your choices are: you are the captain now. It is what I was thinking about is the number 2 choice. Number 3 is faster than a Titan implosion. And the final choice is hit them like 2 ships going bump in the night. That's our poll. And right now, you are the captain now is leading the answer to the question, did you hit like and subscribe? However, that's an answer to that question, I don't know. But that's how the polls are. And back to our regularly scheduled accident story. There we go. But international military analysts remain skeptical about the story, pointing to inconsistencies in the reported events. Center for New American Security, CNAS, followed by Tom Sugart, himself a former U.S. submarine commander, also expressed doubts. 1, submarine nets have a long tradition in defensive ASW anti-submarine warfare, but I haven't heard of any in modern use like this in open seas, in open oceans. Okay. 2, I don't understand how snaring a net could cause a problem with atmosphere control. As for the batteries going flat, it's a nuclear boat, so that's odd. Fair points for those. That's the one I don't understand, is how getting caught in a net could affect the oxygen systems. And it is a nuclear sub, so the batteries shouldn't go dead for like 1 billion years. Phil Ewing, but this business about the PLA-N setting up an underwater nets and so forth to snare adversary subs, what do you make of that? T. Sugart 3 seems like the kind of thing that briefs well to us normies, but which real submariners would oppose to avoiding trapping themselves. And that's where he gave the answer. Covert operations. Well, here we go. Is it a covert operation? That's the question we all want to know. And you know what? It's a covert operation. So the chances of ever actually knowing the actual answer to that may never be known. All right, dang it. I hate these things where like you go across the top and it just covers the entire screen. Ugh. All right. The primary sources of the submarine disaster claims are affiliated with the America Out Loud podcast network. a premier source for the uncensored conservative viewpoint, which focuses on topics such as wokeism, anti-LGBTQI rights, deep state government, and vaccine-related conspiracy theories. Okay. False flag operation, maybe, says Lloyd Williams. That's quite possible. Kooks, who knows? True story? Could be. The voice of Dr. Yan, host Li Mengyan, claims one submariner or submariner. I'm told submariner is incorrect and that submariners call themselves submariners. So who am I to argue? Darth Edie says, so they tell the truth then. Could be. Right. So this guy here claims one submariner survived the incident. Quote, he is secretly confined for violating the rules of the investigation. Even President Xi didn't know the alive one until August 30th. Okay, that kind of whatevs. The account has since gone on to claim such an anchor and chain trap was behind the extensive damage done to the USS Seawolf attack submarine USS Connecticut in 2021, and that Chinese territorial marker buoys recently removed by the Philippines from Scarborough Shoal were part of this deadly network. That doesn't ring true / plausible to me. Dr. Li Mengyan is apparently a female. According to our sources, the CCP Central Military Commission, Xi Jinping has demanded CCP-PLA to suppress our revelations on the Plan 93-417 submarine accident in Yellow Sea on 21 August. Now we publish the name of the commander of 093417 who is dead in the accident, Colonel Shu. Now we've gone over there. All right. Anyway, Colonel Shu guy here. Right. What have I done? Yeah. So anyway, it is interesting that they name the guy. So there's so much conflicting information here. Yet it happened. It didn't happen. They say, the people saying it happened are from discredited news sources with, agenda-driven people. But again, who would reveal this information other than agenda-driven people? But then, China shuts them down. But then they say, here's the name of the captain. So this is very interesting to me. So now all I got to do is march captain out and go, dude, I'm not dead. Offer his bona fides to prove it's the captain and go, dude, I'm right here. I'm not dead. I don't think that's happened, though. So, update on the accident of Plan 09111 submarine. Our exclusive sources provided the content of classified briefing from CCP Central Military Commission, CMC. To note, we can't show the original report because it has a watermark and sometimes special words to identify the something or other. The U.S. Navy, however, says the USS Connecticut had its bow stove in when it slammed into an underwater seamount while traveling at high speed in the South China Sea, and the Philippines Coast Guard says it was very quickly able to cut away the line of buoys laid as a visual marker on its territory. So yeah, the USS Connecticut hitting one of these traps, that just doesn't ring plausible. Or we pretty much know it smashed face first into a mountain, which has happened before. We're going to talk about next month. While the story of a nuclear submarine becoming fatally entangled in an anchor and chain net trap is possible, analysts say early accounts of the alleged incident were not entirely plausible. Defense analyst and undersea warfare expert H.I. Sutton was among the first to pick up the story. Two obvious question markers are nuclear submarines don't normally run out of air for months. That's what I'm saying. They can make it. 2, nuclear boats have a lot of power. Anchor chain shouldn't be fatal, he writes on his blog Covert Shores. I'd have thought a key marker would be some unusual activity from their submarine support / rescue ships, adds naval historian and analyst Dr. Phil Weir. The North Sea Fleet has at least 4, and Plan has at least 3 DSRVs, deep sea rescue vehicles, including the LR-7 they bought from Britain. But again, that's one of the things they're saying is, and it was mentioned here by you folks in chat, they were reportedly testing out a new propulsion system, which can cause problems. Silent service. Submarines have a long history of engaging in secret espionage and surveillance operations. Of course they do. That's why they're built. But the seas are becoming increasingly crowded and transparent. We need to think about operating differently down there to sustain the undersea advantage that the U.S. has relied upon for the last 20 to 30 years as our sort of ace in the hole when it comes to deterring adversaries like Russia and China, argues Hudson analyst Brian Clark. Strategically significant locations such as the South and East China Seas and the Yellow Sea have become the focus of significant Chinese anti-submarine efforts. Here's a guy that's he's claiming it's completely false. The recent U.S. think tank conference titled Fighting into the Bastions urges a corresponding adjustment of submarine technology, operations, and tactics. Adversaries have instrumented these bastions and with networks of fixed and mobile acoustic and non-acoustic sensors, complemented by aircraft and ships capable of pouncing on contacts or deploying dense mine barriers. The report warns improved adversary defenses could degrade or defeat U.S. undersea operations, preventing U.S. submarines from conducting critical missions such as sinking a Chinese invasion fleet or tracking Russian ballistic missile submarines. This has significant implications for the next generation of attack submarines, and this is likely to impact Australia's options when it comes to designing and building a new nuclear-powered attack boat with the UK, the SSN AUKUS. The report emphasizes the need for crewed submarines to become drone carriers. See, I don't like the idea of lots and lots of drone-controlled things, like just free-floating around there where I'm not a big believer in unmanned sea vessels at this point. There's a couple of LNG, the liquid natural gas carriers that are going unmanned, these gigantic gas tankers. And now they want to have unmanned subs, like these full-size attack subs. I don't know how I feel about that. Maybe I'm just too old. I don't know. So they want them to be drone carriers to extend their reach into heavily defended areas, magnify their firepower, and reduce risk to life. Uncrewed vehicles can also enable U.S. undersea forces to exploit active sonar to detect and track increasingly quiet submarines without risking counter detection of a crewed U.S. ship. The report reads. And I don't know how I feel about all these unmanned ships going around, but whatever. What do you guys all think? I mean, it's speculation is what it is. I don't like it at all. Exactly. I'm not into mermaids. They smell too fishy for me, etc., etc. And reformed convict. Naughty boy. Unmanned subs and ships. Are they letting women drive those things now? I see what you did there. They're unpersoned. Unpersoned. Biting your tongue. I'm not sure how I feel about think tanks. I had a friend who was a longtime member of the Cato Institute. I want a job where I literally just get paid to sit around and write shit and talk to other people about the shit I'm writing. Just like theoretical writings. I would love that. It probably happened. The CCP is doing their usual song and dance to deny and deflect. Like, all right, dogs, move along. Well, see, that's the thing. You can be skeptical, but they've named the colonel that was supposedly in charge of that submarine, and they say he's among the dead. The easiest way would be to march him out in front of the cameras and go, "Hi, I'm the guy. Here's my bona fide. I'm the one that's supposed to be dead. I'm here. Oh, and here is the rest of the crew." That would put this thing to rest quite easily. But that hasn't happened yet. Will it happen? Most likely not, whether they're actually alive or dead. But, I mean, it does raise questions. it's the story itself is fishy, but the response can be considered equally as fishy. But what does all of this mean if there was such an incident? That's a good question to ask and take a look at. Underwater nuclear disaster. Why alleged sinking of China's nuke sub is bad news. This is the Eurasian Times. Bad news for Indo-Pacific waters. The plot surrounding the alleged sinking of a Chinese nuclear submarine is thickening, and I'm on the verge of sneezing, so if I suddenly back out here, please forgive me. Whew. With the latest United Kingdom publication contending that the platform went down after getting stuck in a trap laid for the U.S. submarines. A report by UK intelligence, quoted by the Daily Mail, said the Chinese submarine hit a chain and anchor trap. We know that. The Sun reported catastrophic failure of the 107-meter sub's oxygen system. Earlier in 2021, a U.S. nuclear attack submarine collided with an object, a mountain in the South China Sea. Nuclear submarines, one of the deadliest weapons platforms in the world, are vulnerable in the event of an underwater accident causing a nuclear leak, regardless of whether they are nuclear-powered submarines or nuclear-powered ballistic submarines. Fair enough, I guess, but it does take a lot. It does take quite a lot to be causing a nuclear leak in a submarine. In the 200 years from 1774 to 1985 of submarine operations, there have been over 1,750 accidents, while 1,448 submarines were lost due to enemy action. 302 were lost due to some mishap. A number of these accidents have involved nuclear submarines. The reason behind these accidents involving nuclear-powered submarines vary, but nearly half were related to nuclear reactors. Oh, I think we're gonna have to need a citation for that source. Of the total of 41 accidents recorded in 36 nuclear submarines, 12 are related to nuclear reactors. Well, 12 is not necessarily nearly half of 41 accidents. It's not near half of 36 accidents either, resulting in the release of radioactivity within the vessel as well as in the sea, radiation poisoning and death of the crew in some cases. Structural failure within the submarine reactors could cause a release of highly radioactive fission products and lead to a significant risk to life, to those nearby, and public safety hazards to people in the big radius. Just stay out of the big radius. The more this is the third time I've read through this, and it's getting less and less coherent as I read through it here. But in one of the worst submarine disasters, K-19, which is what we're going to be talking about here a little bit later, was the nuclear submarine of the Soviet Union armed with ballistic missiles. It was hastily put in to keep up with the U.S. military developments. On its first voyage on July 4th, 1961, it suffered a complete loss of coolant to its reactors. Several members worked in the radioactive steam to keep the reactor from melting. 22 men who served on the submarine, nicknamed Hiroshima and the Widowmaker, died in the next 2 years. The disaster-inspired movie K-19, The Widowmaker, starring Harrison Ford and Liam Neeson. The USS Thresher, we talked about a month and a half ago, 2 months ago, maybe a little bit longer than that. But we've talked about the USS Thresher, the USS Scorpion. We've tangentially mentioned the USS Scorpion here on Maritime Monday. I think when we talked about the Thresher. 2019, a nuclear-powered mini-submarine in Russia sank in the Barents Sea in circumstances not fully revealed by Moscow. So there have been these accidents. And I guess there is the potential for catastrophic damage to the environment in a certain area. But Reformed Convict says that's a shite movie. I don't think I saw that one. I saw Hunt for the Red October. That was a decent movie. Mini subs are more healthy. They have half the calories of a full-size sub. And Bad Weather Biker dropping the $20 super chat. Thank you so much, Bad Weather Biker. Have you seen Russia's Status 6, aka Poseidon? It's a sub-sized autonomous torpedo with a warhead designed to make a radioactive tidal wave. It is nuclear powered and can roam nearly indefinitely. Well, that sounds pretty scary. Thank you for mentioning that. Yeez. Wow. All right. I have not heard of that. The Status 6. I'll check into that. That's sufficiently scary. But if they have that, we will have one. Jinver says the Kursk. Yes, we are going to be talking. We're going to be talking about the Kursk here. Like I said, I had something locked and loaded to talk about in case this went way under time, which it has. It's only got about half the time I planned. So, and that's how we get Godzilla. Do you want Godzilla? Exactly. That right there. That's from nuclear. That's nuclear shit going on right there. Stray. Been a while since I was able to catch a Jeff stream. I've missed you. I've missed you too, Stray. Welcome back to the fold. Can a sub really sink? They're made to be underwater, and to sink means to be underwater. Well, sink sort of means to be all the way at the bottom. And you're not always supposed to be there. Jeff, have you seen original Twilight Zone with the knocking sub? Those all Twilight Zones are so good. Yeah. New fear unlocked. Yes. Radioactive tidal waves bearing Godzilla caused by Russian roaming nuclear weapony thing. Harrison Ford's fake accent in that movie angered me terribly. Hunt for the Red October. You're talking about the K-19, because he played Jack Ryan in Hunt for the Red October. It was Sean Connery's I don't give a damn. I'm Scottish and I'm not doing a Russian accent. I'm Sean Connery, goddammit, accent that I found amusing in Hunt for the Red October. Well, that's kind of the story. There's not really a conclusion to this one, just more mystery. There's been a report that there was a nuclear sub accident somewhere off the coast of China that led to the deaths of 55 people on board. People are saying it happened. They're releasing the bits of intelligence. They're naming the name of the colonel that was in charge of the vessel, that was the commander of the vessel. And the response has been it didn't happen, not only from China, but from China's frenemy, Taiwan. And other sources, intelligence sources, are denying it as well, or not confirming it. Again, all you got to do is march that guy out there and say, here he is, and here's the rest of the crew to put this one to rest. But they haven't done that, and they most likely won't do it. So this is a mystery that is probably just going to be forgotten about in a couple of weeks. I think it's Baldwin in Red October. It was Sean Connery, wasn't it? But what do you think, Jeff? I don't know. That's the thing. I just don't know. I think the Beatles wrote a song about this. They may have. Alec Baldwin played Jack Ryan in Hunt for the Red October. Then maybe I have seen K-19, because in my head there is definitely Harrison Ford in a submarine. But now that I think I may have seen the movie, because now there's like flashes in my head of him wearing a Soviet military uniform. I'll have to go back and check it out. So, no, it was Sean Connery and Steven Seagal. Just a cook. A lowly cook. With Gary Busey. See, now Gary Busey in charge of something military, that would be truly frightening. Steven Seagal doesn't fit in a submarine anymore. Yes, Connery was in Ted October. You're correct, Flux. He was in Ted October. Under Siege. Yes, that was Steven Seagal in Under Siege. I'm just a cook alone. And Erica, what's her name that popped out of that cake? God dang, that was a good movie. Just saying. All right. It took us an hour to get through something I was hoping I could just stretch out for 2 hours, but there just wasn't enough there. So the mystery remains. If there's any more on it, I'll update. But this just sort of sounds like something that's going to go away because everybody involved, what more can the people that are saying it happened provide? Probably not a lot. The Chinese are probably never going to admit it happened. If it did, the Taiwanese saying it didn't happen is a little interesting. And if the U.S. and UK Intelligence Committee say that they haven't received anything that proves it happened, then they're probably never going to change their mind. A-Dog muted. Erica, yes, what was her name in Under Siege? Erica Elaniak? Was that her? Elaniak? I think that was her name. She was a Playboy model, and then she was in Under Siege, and all of her popped out of a birthday cake. Erica Elaniak, something like that. God, that's been a long time ago, and the fact that thank you, yes. Eleniak, that is. See, that's how impressive it was back in the 80s. I still remember her name. Best boob cake reveal ever. Yes, it was. And like I said, it was so good that I remember the actress's name some 30 odd years later. Yep. All righty. Oh yeah, she was on Baywatch too. That's right. That's right. She made it onto Baywatch. You are correct. Wow. Oh, Carmen Electra was also there, as was Pamela Anderson. Every 80s thought was there. Willem Dafoe is in it. Willem Dafoe is. He wasn't in Under Siege, if that's what you're talking about. Right, Jeff, your VH copy of that movie is worn out of that scene, ain't it? It may or may not have had a few tracking marks on it. May or may not. All right, everybody. We're not done here. As I said, I have a plan to. Oh, Tank Rat just hit Tank Rat 2, not to be confused with Tank Rat. Oh, I have a sneaky suspicion. It might be related. Tank Rat 2 has just dropped 20 Legal Vices memberships. Make sure if you get one of these 20 Legal Vices memberships, you give Tank Rat a super, super thanks for his generosity and his kindness in supporting the show and providing you with a membership. And we will be having a monthly membership stream very, very soon. We haven't done one for October yet, and we're 1/3 of the way through the month, so it's got to be coming up soon. Make sure I haven't missed any other gifts, because I just happened to glance over and see that Tank Rat dropped that. Okay, that is it. All right. Well, now let's do the midstream grift here, and then we'll go back into the second thing that I have prepared for today. We got 436 people here watching, 330 likes, 100 of you still haven't done your job. Get on over there, hit that like button, hit the subscribe button, take our poll. What a ridiculous answer to my ridiculous question is leading in the moment. Did you hit the like button? Are you subscribed? 18% of you said, it is what I was thinking about. 16% of you, we forgot, we should have read 16%. 16% of you said, hit them like two ships going bump in the night. 25% of you said you have hit them faster than a Titan implosion. And 40% of you, now back to 40, we're fluctuating between 40 and 41%. 40% now of you said, you are the captain now. So that's where we are. Means nothing. I have no idea how any of those answers the question that was asked, but that's just our little like and subscribe poll to remind you to remember to hit that like and subscribe. All right. And then again, very quickly, bringing you up to date on what's happening between now and Friday. Tomorrow, Dep V Herd sidebar readings continue on Tuesday and Wednesday, as a matter of fact. And on one of those days, there's a possibility that our normal cast of me, Megan Fox, Chandler Remington, and Aussie Overlord will be augmented by one Nick Ricada. Nick wants to join us for the reading, and if he has time on either or both of those days, he will join us for the Johnny Depp Amber Heard sidebar readings. Thursday, Chandler Remington, my co-host for the O.J. Simpson, and I will be here doing O.J. Simpson. And Friday morning U.S. time will be the YNW Melly hearing on the motion to dismiss the case due to prosecutorial misconduct. Very serious allegations, which just go back and watch my last two Melly streams from Friday of last week. Good God, this is off the hook. That's coming up on Friday morning. Friday night U.S. time is the monthly Fuck It Friday stream where we just say fuck it. And we have a great panel of guests and we just hang out. We chill. You bring all your super chats. That's my griftathon. It's my unabashed, unashamed griftathon where I try to liberate as much money from you as possible on that one day so we don't really have to beg for it for the rest of the month. It's all fun and games. $100, I do a shot. The aggregate $100 that come in with the smaller super chats, that gets a normal whiskey of some sort. And the $100 or more super chats, they get a premium whiskey. And you forced me to hurt my pride and my love for whiskey by doing shots of really expensive whiskey. It's all fun and games. Our panel that we have lined up, so there's a huge list that usually comes in. It's still growing. Since we've started, we've had some new yeses. Let's go. This is the new list of yes and definite maybes. Lila Hart, it was her debut on last month. She's so hilarious. I love Lila so much. Met her in Houston. Great person. Lila Hart has given a definite yes. Christina Radix Verum said, I would love to join you. So there we go. Megan Fox is in. Steph the Alter Nerd is in. Our very own Flux is in. Chrissy Mayer is in. Anna, that Star Wars girl. Waifu Kron Jess. Me and Copium. Possibly Nina Infinity. Let's see, we've got possibly Nick Ricada. Chandler Remington. And Laura De Laguna will be here. And Talk with Sally will be here. And quite possibly a new person. We're still working on the details by this. There may be one or possibly even two new people joining us. New faces that we haven't seen before. So stay tuned. And the list is continuing to grow. This is just the response from the first day of me mentioning it. Actually, like the first 12 hours of me mentioning it. The people I've invited, the people that have asked to be on it, and our very own MG Law has also asked to be there. So he will be there as well. So congratulations. That's our list. That's what's going to be happening Friday night U.S. time. People come and go as they please. It's just a lot of fun. We just say fuck it and have a great time. Monetization goes out the window usually in the first 10 minutes. So join us for that. Now for the remainder of tonight, what are we going to do? We're going to listen to the dog bark for just a second. Now, this is Yoda's 30 seconds of activity for the day. So, all right, what we're going to be doing is a similar case to this. We have a similar case where an accident happened aboard a submarine, and the government in question denied it initially and then never asked for help and turned down the offered help. We've already reviewed this video once, it was either a little over or a little under a year ago. Really, Yoda, thanks. Just 1 second. Yoda's dumb and doesn't even know his own name, so I can't expect him to stop barking when I say that. Yes, we are talking about the Kursk. We did a stream on the Kursk. I think it was November of last year when we did it. But here we go. We're going to do this video again. It's about 45 minutes long. We're going to let it play for the most part. Try not to interrupt too much because it should just take us to the top of the hour. I'll just kind of talk over it. And there are subtitles in there. There's a lot of it is in Russian. It has some English subtitles. And I know there's a lot of you out there that drive truck, that have this on as background noise at the office, that watch you as you go about your day and whatnot. You're driving. I will be reading the Russian subtitles. I distinctly remember last time I was reading the subtitles and be like, we can read the subtitles. We don't need you reading them for us. I'm reading the subtitles for the benefit of those that can't stare at this gorgeous fucking mug while they listen to the stream. So truck drivers, people who should be doing other stuff in your office, etc., etc. I will be reading the subtitles just for you. Now, this is the Kursk accident. There's some similar, there's a lot of parallels to what has been alleged to have occurred off the coast of China here. No, Yoda really is stupid. He is a wonderful, great dog, but he isn't the smartest dog out there. Flux, stop calling me out. Right. I specifically mentioned that people in the office should be doing something else. That I was specifically talking about you. All right, here we go. Let's bring this on up. And again, super chats, we'll just kind of go through them as they come. Speaking of which, Jeff Moser has given us a $2 super chat. Thank you so much for your support. My worst fear when it comes to subs is Jared Fogle. Well, just don't go to prison and you won't have to worry about getting fogled. Torin 3, did you ever cover the Russ nuke-powered icebreaker ship that had to have the reactor cut out of the ship and drop to the ocean floor? Ship saved? Why? The look of perplexion on my face should tell you no, I have not heard of this, but okay, I will add that to the list. Thank you so much, Torin 3. Very, 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 very pleased. Very, very thankful to you for your super chat. Thank you so much. All right. The Kursk. This is a documentary of the Russian sub disaster. Yoda is our favorite derpy dog. He as far as derpy dogs go, he is the
Russia's pride became Russia's humiliation. The Kursk, the submarine that was supposed to be unsinkable.
Never say those words.
Until the unthinkable happened.
Unsinkable until the unthinkable. I like that.
It took less than 2 minutes for massive explosions to rip through the Kursk and send it plunging to the seabed.
Oh, there's Doggo Cam. You just have to unlock the achievement. And we're far from the achievement.
The families, the Russian authorities, the whole world waited
We're about
for news of
$60 away.
survivors. It never came. November 2001. In Ryutov, a small town near Moscow, a military funeral for 2 members of the Kursk crew. At this time, similar scenes were taking place in many cities all over Russia. Once the submarine was raised from the Barents Sea, the families of those who perished in the Kursk could at last bid their loved ones farewell.
And this was a horrific disaster.
All the more poignant
it could have
by
been
the
avoided.
mystery that still surrounded the last moments of the submarine. This funeral was for 2 of the oldest servicemen on board the Kursk. One of them was the head cook, senior warrant officer.
Well, there we go. We've got
Belyaev.
Russian subtitles. They used to call him the soul of the crew. Whoever you asked, everyone liked him. This is Galina Belyaeva, the Kursk widow, a widow of the Kursk. There was no one else like him at the garrison in Vidyayevo. We had a picnic with the crew on the celebration day of the submarine. That day, he told us something strange, but we didn't pay particular attention to it then. Today, however, what he said appears in a completely different light. He said, if something should happen to us one day, then our wives should stick together and support one another. See, there's these things where people have these premonitions of incidents and accidents, and this was just this random day when a random submariner makes a random comment to his wife that if something should happen to us, we all need to stick together. And then just a short time later, something did happen. Well, something that happened right now. Sonny or Chris dropping some heat, dropping some doggo heat. I need to update I need to like totally do my stream deck so we can use the Unleash the Hounds from Monty Burns from The Simpsons. But it is that time. We have just barely unlocked the Doggo Cam achievement. Derpy Yoda is in the living room, having checked out a while ago to go to sleep. Strawberry is here next to me, just sort of staring at the wall, as Strawberry is wont to do on occasion. So we will adjust Strawberry Cam here. And there we go. Strawberry Cam. What's up, Dargy? Hey, Dargy. Dargy is actually the actual name. Dargy is a strawberry in Korean. So there we go. My co-host for today, Strawberry, the not so derpy dog. Thank you, Sonny or Chris, for unlocking the achievement for today, the Strawberry Bulldog Cam. There we go. All right. Are you happy now? We've released the hounds. Achievement unlocked. And just for the record, we are $200 away from some sort of horrific shot that I still haven't figured out what to do if I ever get 300 in one night. So there we go. Back on with the Kursk. What? What? What are you looking at? You're staring at me. All right, everybody, let's go.
Держались вместе.
Ну и давайте выпьем за всех нас, за дружбу.
По окончании этого следствия.
When the inquiries are completed, I want to know everything.
С ним. Вот. Единственная надежда все-таки
This is
хотелось
Oksana
увидеть, узнать,
Silovga,
вообще, что
she's also a widow.
происходило,
This is my only hope for finding out what really
что
happened.
произошло.
The Kursk was one of the largest submarines in the world and one of the best guarded weapons in Russia's armed forces. Equipped with cruise missiles, torpedoes, and anti-ship missiles, it could remain undetected beneath the waves for months. The Kursk was the pride of the Russian fleet.
The Kursk was an attack submarine. This is Viktor Roshkov, the Kursk captain from 94 to 97. A first strike weapon, a nuclear underwater, the chances of an effective defense against such a weapon are non-existent. And of course, it was equipped with the latest technological developments of the Soviet and Russian army industry. Now, yeah, this was right there on the cusp of the Soviet Union collapse. So it was fairly old at the time it went down. But anyway, it was advanced at that point, and it was a response to the U.S. submarines. This thing was fast and it was quiet, and it caused the U.S. to develop an entirely new type of submarine to outclass the Kursk. It goes without saying that a direct torpedo hit on the hull of the Kursk would have caused damage. All right, hang on here. To go back here. It goes without saying that a direct torpedo hit on the hull of the Kursk would not have caused substantial damage, let alone sunk it.
The Kursk was developed during the Cold War as a response to the American aircraft carriers. The aim was to make the Kursk unsinkable. Unlike Western subs, it had a double
don't
hull.
Ever say that.
Behind the outer hull was a second layer of steel, 5 centimeters thick. The Kursk was divided into 9 separate watertight compartments. In the bow was the torpedo room. Right behind it was the command and control center, the heart of the ship. In the 6th compartment were the nuclear reactors, and at the rear, in the 9th compartment, was the escape hatch.
At the time, NATO was on guard against submarines of this class. One can even say they were afraid of them, that's not inaccurate, particularly because of its powerful long-range missiles. In addition, the boat had good defensive potential due to modern anti-ship missiles.
The Kursk was one of 12 submarines in this class, as tall as a 4-story building and as long as 2 jumbo jets end to end. It was more than twice the size of its American counterparts. The ceremony for launching the Kursk in 1994 was an important milestone for the meagerly paid crew. For a brief moment, their worries were forgotten as they celebrated together.
I took a bottle of champagne and thought, I hope it smashes properly. I crossed myself, even though I don't believe in God. The most important thing then just was to do justice to the tradition, because ships are always christened with champagne. And that's how Strawberry climbs up on the chair.
No one could have imagined the tragedy the future would bring. In 1999, the Kursk embarked on a mission to enter the Mediterranean Sea undetected in search of American vessels. No Russian submarine had been in Mediterranean waters for almost 10 years. Video footage shot by one of the sailors provides a rare glimpse into life on board.
See, this is really
During
fascinating.
their return journey,
This is
the crew
actual
celebrated
footage
the
from the
success of their
Kursk.
mission. The Kursk had passed through the Straits of Gibraltar undetected.
With a rat on board. How nice.
On the 19th of October 1999, after 2.5 months at sea, the Kursk returned to its home port of Vidyayevo on the Kola Peninsula. The families of the crew waited to be reunited with their loved ones.
Which is a funny story. I get
Kursk
into
was
chairs the
welcomed
same
home
way as
with a
Strawberry.
military march. After the success of the Mediterranean mission, the submarine was now considered to be the finest vessel in Russia's northern fleet. And the crew were heroes. One of the men returning home was Andrei Silagava.
He was the commander of the missile compartment on board, responsible for 24 Granite cruise missiles. This is his widow, Oksana Silogava. His character, I don't know how to put it. He was persevering, self-confident, kind. I think he can actually, I think that he actually had something of all the good qualities a person can have. Also, his staff listened to him. He had authority amongst his colleagues on the Kursk, gave them advice too. And in our family, being with him was very easy for me.
After the Mediterranean mission, confidence in the Kursk was running high. The crew were proud to serve on board. Despite their paltry and irregular wages, the submarine fleet still ranked amongst the elite of the Russian Navy.
The boat always had our full confidence. It was considered so reliable that nothing could happen to it. Again, nothing can happen to it. It's unsinkable. That's like the most jinxiest jinx word that ever jinxed. Don't say that. It wasn't just me. He believed it too. Nothing bad could ever happen to the Kursk.
On Friday, the 11th of
Until
August
it
2000, in the Barents Sea, the Russian Northern Fleet started its most extensive naval maneuvers for 10 years. The Kursk was part of this exercise. It had been at sea for 2 days. All but a few of the crew members' families had left the naval base and gone south for the summer holidays.
It's a big ship. It's a big boat. I left Vidyayevo to go on holiday in July. My husband took me to the station to say goodbye. I was already sitting in my compartment, and he was standing on the platform. Then there was this moment. The train hadn't started moving yet. And we were looking into each other's eyes, and this thought suddenly overcame me. I was trying to commit him to memory the way he was. I looked at him and asked myself, why are you looking at him like that? You're trying to memorize him as if you'd never see him again. But then I quickly chased this thought away.
On the first day of maneuvers,
See, that's another thing. Like I just mentioned a minute ago, these premonitions or things that people have. That's a good topic for one of my unexplained streams.
The Kursk had a single task: to launch a granite missile successfully. Submerged at periscope depth, the Kursk moved into position. The exercises began. Footage from on board an identical
King
submarine
Bob.
shows the course of
Have a
events
good
in the
night.
last few moments before
Day.
a missile launch.
It's night here. She sounds like she wants to kill Sterling Archer.
This
Nice.
is how it should
Good.
happen. Everyone calm under pressure. No panic. It's just a simulation, yet the tension is palpable. The Kursk accomplished the mission successfully.
There goes the missile.
The next day, the Kursk was to carry out the second and final task in this maneuver. Victor Baronez has investigated the Kursk tragedy for over 2 years.
As Victor Barron is a reporter, the main mission was a normal, almost banal task. They had to steal up on the main ship, fire off a torpedo, and leave
At 9
undetected.
in the morning, the radio operators at the control center recorded the last contact with the Kursk. The submarine reported in as it approached the torpedo launch site. The radio operators waited all day for another report, but no one heard from the Kursk again. It was already at the bottom of the ocean.
It
The
just
maneuvers
didn't show
command
up.
center was very slow to notice the missing Kursk. When they realized something was wrong, a search for the sub was initiated. At first, there was no official announcement of the disappearance.
See, that's the problem when you're running in stealth mode, when you're running silent, when you're trying not to be seen. It takes a while for people to realize you're far too late. You know, it's like they're not like, oh, hey, we're sneaking up on you now. We're almost ready. We're almost there. We'll be there to sneak up on you in a bit. There's like, they know they're supposed to sneak up. They're supposed to launch a missile and then sneak away without being detected. Like not being detected was part of the mission. And it's just, wait a minute, we haven't seen the missile and we haven't heard from them for a long time. And by that time, it's a little bit late.
The news that the boat was stranded on the sea floor leaked unofficially.
I knew the Kursk very well. I had been on board several times. And my husband told me a lot about how things worked. I was informed. But I didn't know that the boat could just lie on the bottom of the sea like that. So I was very nervous and worried. However, I still had the hope that it was all just gossip and rumors and that everything was all right.
Things were far from all right. 30 hours after the accident, the Russian Navy finally located the Kursk. But their rescue
How
equipment was
not
outdated.
to be seen. How many
Despite
Russian
several
sailors are
attempts, the
there in
submersible
this
failed to dock
picture?
on the Kursk. The Fleet Command released scraps of information. Not even the next of kin were informed.
We watched the news nonstop. We fell asleep and woke up with the television on. From the first newscast to the last, we did not move away from the television at all. We just listened and waited to
For
see what was
several
happening.
days, the Russian President Vladimir Putin refused offers of foreign assistance. It wasn't until much later that he actually visited the families of the missing crew members. By then, the whole world was watching, hoping for signs of life in the shattered submarine. But Russia was still determined to show no weakness and turn down all offers of help. Millions of people waited as the Russian Fleet Command and the country's leaders wasted precious time.
We waited a very long time for the foreign divers to arrive. We were counting the days, the minutes, literally the seconds, but it kept being put off. The only thing we could do during this time was pray.
On the 20th of August, Norwegian specialist divers arrived at the site of the accident. The Kursk had been stranded for 8 days.
8
Even
days.
after official permission had been granted for the rescue to go ahead, the fleet command was still suspicious and obstructive. No one knew whether there would be any survivors. But the divers tried to stay optimistic. When they managed to open the escape hatch, the situation was clear. The submarine was completely flooded.
Yeah, that's a bad sign. And the submarine's full of water.
Надежда была.
But
Надежда
despite
всё-таки была,
all
и
that
она
we still, despite
оставалась
that, we all
до тех
still
пор,
had,
пока оттуда не
despite all of that, we still had hope, and we didn't lose hope
когда их
until all the
выпустили
ships had left, until they just abandoned
на
the
борт, и
operation.
не было
By
никакого
then, there
другого
was
выхода.
no other
Мы
way
думали
out.
только об
There was
этом,
nothing left to hope for.
о том,
It
что
was
всё
all over.
кончено.
The disaster affected the entire Russian population. The country's pride was injured, and confidence in the president was shaken. An ambitious plan to raise the Kursk was drawn up in the Kremlin. Russia's government wanted to eliminate an environmental hazard, but most of all, they wanted to find out what caused the accident. 1 year after the sinking of the Kursk, ships moored above the site of the accident once again. They were part of one of the most difficult and dangerous underwater salvage operations of all time. A Dutch-led consortium of specialist companies had been authorized by the Russian Navy to raise the Kursk and bring it back to land.
Everything
That's what we're
what was
talking about
difficult
right now.
was in the project.
I believe you did. Did
We
you
had
watch?
to do
Did you
with
watch this when we did this a
nuclear
year ago? I think
reactors
you
on
talked
board,
about this last
weapons.
time too. I believe you commented about this before, if I remember correctly. It's hard to remember what happened a year ago when I can barely remember what I had for breakfast today. But if it wasn't you, it was definitely another Dutchman that did this. That mentioned it. Yes. So if it was, like I said, if it wasn't you, it was another Dutchman that did it. Anyway, I distinctly remember someone else mentioning it last year. So let's get back here to Frans van Submarine, the head of the Kursk raising operation.
We had to do with a very short time frame, 4 months, to do the operation. We had uncertain.
Now, see, 4 months to raise this. I mean, 4 months. It sounds like that's a long time. That is actually a really, really short time to raise a wreck. I mean, wreck raising can take months, several months to a year or more. There's an incredible amount of work that goes into it. And it's amazing to see and keep tabs on a raising of a ship.
Weather circumstances. We had a Russian client, so everything was in it. So we had to use all the talents of ourselves and our people to succeed. And when you succeed then in a job like this, it gives you everything what a human being wanted to have.
Well, Spooky Spoon asks, why does it take so long? First, you have to get the ships arranged. You have to get all of the contract work done, which can take a long time. Because if something goes wrong during all of this, so who's responsible for it? Getting the payment plan, the details worked out. Plus, you just have to go through the mechanics of raising this gigantic tens of thousands of tons piece of ship from the bottom of the ocean up onto a floating platform and take it where it needs to go. Bad weather, you can't work in bad weather. It can take an incredible amount of time. I guess it was the end of last year, we were involved in a case where they were pumping oil, like the remaining oil on a sunken ship at about 100 meters depth, and just pumping out the oil took 3 months. And you've got to do that before you actually start raising it. I mean, this 100-meter down ship, they're just going to leave it there because it doesn't affect traffic and it's not a danger to the environment. But yeah, it's just everything. You have to pump all of the oil out safely so it doesn't leak out into the environment. If there's any cargo that has to be can or has to be removed. You have to remove that. Then you have to secure the wreck, make sure it doesn't break up while it's being raised. It's the ship raising. We should watch a ship. I'm sure there's lots of ship raising videos on YouTube because everything is on YouTube. We should watch a ship raising video one of these days. It's absolutely incredible the amount of engineering that goes into that work.
On board the salvage vessels, the Giant and the Mayo, people worked around the clock. Cranes with special hoisting winches were set up. They would later lift the Kursk to the surface using gigantic steel cables. The short-term demand for steel for the recovery operation was so great that the Dutch market was completely sold out for weeks. Every stage of the operation had to be discussed and agreed with the Russians. The atmosphere was difficult at first, but in the interests of their common goal, suspicions were put aside. Before lifting could begin, specialist divers had to explore in and around the submarine.
First time that I landed on the Kursk, because we had to jump from the diving bell. We had to jump down about 10 meters, and then you go down like a parasailer, and then you hit the deck of the Kursk, and it was impressive. The size of that thing, of the Kursk, it was huge. And then within the hour, when you find your way around, you get to the damage where the explosion was, and the devastation of the damage. What happened there was impressive. I've never seen so much damage, and the people who were close to the explosion, as I might say, they were lucky. They were really lucky.
See that? I mean, that's a statement there too. The people that were near the explosion were the lucky ones. And they're going to talk, I'm sure, if memory serves me right, they're going to talk a little bit more about that. Why the people that were near the explosion were the lucky ones. Spooky Spoon with a $2 super chat.
First, the ravaged bow of
But
the
first,
Kursk had to be
Torin
sawn
3,
off.
Icebreaker Lennon
Otherwise,
67
the mangled
reactor
metal
removed
could
with
unbalance
explosives.
the wreckage during the lifting operation.
Check it out.
A specially designed
I
chainsaw
love you,
was
Jeff,
used.
this Spooky.
Its surface was fitted with artificial diamonds,
Thank you.
able to cut through the hardest of steels.
2 cilinders die in de bodem zaten op ankers. Deze draad heen en
2
weer naar
hydraulic
boven.
cylinders were
En
mounted
daardoor kregen we dus een zaag
on
in
the
beweging.
seabed and made the cable move
Normaal
back
als je
and
een
forth.
scheepsvak zaagt,
This
zaag
is
je
how the
onder naar
saw
boven. Hou je
operated.
de ketting eronder
Usually
door,
when we use a
ga je
saw
boven,
on
onder naar
shipwrecks,
boven. Maar in dit
we
geval was
work
het niet
from...
mogelijk om er door te komen, niet.
I say, I apologize to our Dutchman here in the audience while I'm talking over your native language just to read the subtitles in English for those that are watching. We'll have to do this way. This is how the saw operated. Usually when we use a saw on shipwrecks, we work from the bottom to the top.
Dan ga je van onder naar boven. Maar in dit geval was het niet mogelijk om er door te komen, niet.
But since we didn't know where the damage was and what the problems were in
waar
this
de schade
case,
zat en dan problemen zouden zijn. Deze zijn we begonnen van boven naar beneden te zagen.
we sawed from the top to the bottom.
Cutting off the nose of the submarine took several weeks.
Yeah, so see there you go again. They literally have this fake diamond saw that's cutting the ship in half.
Sawing cable kept jamming, and the divers had to repair it.
Look at the size
cutting
of that
line
drill.
was right next to the torpedoes. The risk of detonation forced the divers to wait at a safe distance. The operation was also hindered by the weather conditions in the Barents Sea. There were yet more frustrating delays for the salvage teams.
We kwamen eigenlijk al te laat in ons schema te zitten, waardoor we al de weerberichten gewoon slecht waren voor het gebied al.
The weather in the Barents Sea is very changeable.
We kwamen eigenlijk al te laat in ons schema te zitten, waardoor we al de weerberichten gewoon slecht waren voor het gebied al.
Sometimes it can turn from very calm to gale force winds.
Dus elke keer was het gewoon op het laatste moment stoppen met werken, zeevasten van de spullen. En dan weer wachten, 1 of 2 dagen wachten.
In that case, we had to wait a few hours for the wind to subside so that we could carry on working again.
En dan daarna, als we weer konden, weer alles weer losmaken. En alleen de ellende was dat op een gegeven moment die
The worst thing is when the intervals between the low pressure fronts become shorter.
De tijden daartussen, tussen die depressie werden steeds korter. Dus op een gegeven moment ging de depressie sneller opvolgen.
As far as I'm aware, 3 days after we lifted the submarine, a huge storm started and never stopped.
Zover ik weet, ik ben na de hand nog geweest bij de meteorologen, dat 3 dagen nadat we gehesen hebben, is het echt gaan waaien.
So basically we were just lucky with the weather.
Het is niet meer stil geworden. Dus we hebben gewoon op dat gebied gewoon geluk gehad.
The divers worked in shifts. They spent 4 days in the pressure chamber after returning from the wreck stranded 100 meters below the surface. At the end of their shift, they were checked for exposure to radiation from the nuclear reactors on board the Kursk. The aim was to minimize the risk to the divers as much as possible.
Toen ik gevraagd werd om mee te gaan werken aan de berging van de Kursk.
When I was asked to participate in the recovery of the Kursk, together with 3 other divers of Smith International, the first thing I considered
omdat het inderdaad een onderzee was met nog torpedo's binnen.
Was the risk involved. After all, this was a submarine full of torpedoes and missiles.
Heb ik goed tegen elkaar afgewogen.
I made the decision to take part, not because of the money.
Niet vanwege het geld, maar gewoon
but in order to be part of this operation and simply because it's my job.
En omdat het natuurlijk je werk is. Als je moet gaan nadenken wat de risico's
zijn. If you constantly worry about the risks, then it's probably best you stay above water altogether. Wouter van Putten says, please add a beautiful Dutch accent when talking over them. The least you can do. Yeah, unfortunately, whatever I did would be far from a beautiful Dutch accent. I don't even know it would be a bad Dutch accent. It would probably have nothing to do with the Dutch accent. So yeah, I'll avoid doing that.
Daar constant over na blijft denken, dan moet je niet dit beroep gaan doen. Dan kan je beter boven water blijven.
For the Kursk to be raised, 26 holes had to be cut in the hull. Special steel plugs with arms that unfolded under the beams were anchored in the holes cut in the hull. At a depth of 108 meters, it was a laborious procedure requiring painstaking accuracy. The divers often had to remove scrap metal that had broken away as the Kursk sank.
That I can do. That I can also do. But I'm not going to because I like my channel. Just do your Max Verstappen impression.
Heel erg zwaar. De energie die je normaal stopt in het luchtduiken.
I won again.
Een uur of 2 uur. Die kan je niet in het saturatieduiken.
Sorry, I was making fun of Max Verstappen just now securing the 3rd consecutive world championship at the F1 race yesterday. And I forgot to read this. The physical strain was immense. The energy you normally use in scuba diving
de energie die je normaal stopt
over a period of 1 or 2 hours is nothing compared to the exertion of
die kan je niet
saturation diving. You're absolutely exhausted within an hour.
Omdat je dan binnen een uur ben je gewoon helemaal.
The strain on the body is equal to that of a marathon
run. Je hebt het gevoel alsof je een hele marathon hebt gelopen.
Over a year after the Russian submarine Kursk sank mysteriously with the loss of all 118 men on board, the international salvage team was at last ready to start the ambitious operation to lift the wreckage from the bottom of the Barents Sea.
God.
Having been embedded 8 meters down in the silt for over a year, the Kursk was hoisted slowly towards the surface. On board the salvage vessel Giant, every winch was working at full capacity.
There's Sunday races in Korea.
They were pulling on 18,000 tons of steel. On board the barge, the huge mass of steel below was barely perceptible. All the winches were computer controlled. The Kursk moved upwards at a rate of about 10 meters an hour. After 10 hours of nervous anticipation, the job was accomplished. The Kursk was suspended under the keel of the Giant, exactly as planned. The most difficult part of the recovery operation was complete. and it was time to celebrate.
Cake.
But despite being elated at their success, the salvage teams could not forget the dead crew of the Kursk. The dive.
And while we're talking about that, Fun Dine with a $5 super chat says, thanks for remembering us drivers. I'm behind. Have a great day. When you drive safely, sir, we are doing it just for you.
Divers left a memorial stone on the seabed. It took the giant 3 days to tow the Kursk back to home waters. Auxiliary pontoons lifted the giant, and with it the Kursk, a little way out of the water. Once in the dock, the submarine was separated from the salvage barge. 1 year and 2 months after sinking, sections of the Kursk were above water once more.
My first feeling was that I was very proud of my team, of all the people who worked on the project. And my first thinking was, when you can do such a project with such a very good team as we have, you can do everything in the world. And the second feeling was, of course, the fact that it was possible to bring the bodies home again to their families. So it was not only a question, the whole project of money. It was a very emotional job. I can say you that it was the most difficult, but also the most nice.
Hey, Catherine Fraser, welcome. Welcome, Lurker. We love Lurkers. Thanks. Just make sure you hit the like button.
Когда ее подняли со дна, и
It's
показалась
Oksana
рубка,
Silagova again. The moment that the boat was lifted and the tower became visible was very difficult. We cried.
плакали. Вот. И какое-то чувство
But we
радости,
also
что
felt
всё-таки
something like joy
мы
because we
ее
saw the
увидели,
Kursk
хоть в
again,
каком-то,
even in this sad state.
хоть в таком плачевном виде, но мы ее увидели.
We
И
saw it, and the
появилась
hope
надежда, что мы
arose that at
получим тела
least we would
хоть
have
своих
the
мужей.
bodies of our husbands.
The Russian Navy had remained silent ever since the Kursk went down. Everyone hoped the wreck would provide some clue to the events which led to the deaths of 118 men. Rumors of suspicious behavior had been circulating ever since the disaster, and in some cases, even before the maneuvers began in August 2000.
This is the journalist. The Kursk sailed off 3 days before it was scheduled to, and many officers, not to mention the seamen, were selected and put together hastily and without prior warning. The commander of the 7th Submarine Division was not on the Kursk crew list until the last minute.
The inspection of the Kursk took place at Roslyakovo, a dry dock on the Kola Peninsula. Throughout the winter, investigators from the Military Prosecutor's Office worked in sub-zero temperatures to sift their way through tons of metal, plastic and silt, looking for evidence. It was not a job for the faint-hearted.
This is one of the investigators. I was in Afghanistan and in Chechnya, so I was physiologically prepared for this job. Well, psychologically, I should not let emotions get in the way. God, look at that. I was supposed to carry out the task of identifying the corpses and returning them to their families so that they received a decent Christian funeral. In addition, we wanted to find documents or weapons or anything relevant that would help us. It would help us to unveil the secret of the sinking of this boat. God, I mean, just look at how big that thing
Despite
was.
having practiced on another submarine, gaining access to the interior of the Kursk was physically and psychologically demanding for the investigators. There are some things that can't be simulated.
The investigators prepared themselves on a boat in which all mechanisms were in place. This is the chief military prosecutor. Says, but there we encountered utter chaos. Everything that could have come loose from its original place was thrown about and tangled up. It was an absolute jumble. The entire second section and all that was in it was now in the third section.
The investigation was a harrowing and difficult job. But when the investigators reached the 9th compartment, they made their most horrifying discovery. 23 seamen had survived the initial explosion and waited there in vain for help. Their bodies told the story.
That's what they're talking about when the guy said those that were close to the explosion were the lucky ones. Because these 23 people survived and were in the tail section waiting for rescue that never came.
В течение 3, по-моему, дней
we recovered all the bodies from the 9th compartment within 3 days. It turned out to be an extremely difficult task, as many of them were lodged in the buckled construction. One of the bodies, for example, was so badly stuck that we couldn't get him out for 2 days. So, they're sitting there waiting for rescue, and then the ship just collapses on them.
Some of the things they saw. Some of them were so traumatized by the experience they could not continue. The emotional strain was too much.
An investigator. In the case of an accident, every crew member on board has to fulfill the duties assigned to him for the respective situation. For instance, one should hold a key to the strong room in his hands and have documents ready for possible evacuation, and that's exactly how we found him. Next to the strong room with a key in his hand, there was no panic. Everyone did what was assigned to them in the short time they had in the front compartments. To be honest, it was hard to hold back the tears that filled our eyes during the first days. I don't know how to explain it.
Не знаю, как это объяснить.
I was amazed by the valor, especially the men in the 9th compartment. Inside the submarine was sheer hell.
So what caused the disaster? What happened during the final moments of the Kursk? An official paper containing the results of the investigation has been published, but many questions remain unanswered. There are numerous theories about what caused the disaster. At first, the Russian Fleet Command maintained that the Kursk had been rammed by a foreign submarine. During the Russian maneuvers, there had been American submarines in the area to observe the naval exercises in the Barents Sea. Submarines can sometimes pass within a few hundred meters of each other, but cannot see each other underwater.
There have been instances where subs have bumped into each other.
Boats using sonar, but this is often unreliable. The Kursk was in notoriously difficult and shallow waters. The sensitive reactor cooling system of the Kursk meant that the keel should always stay at least 50 meters from the seabed.
The selection of the maneuver area alone is questionable. Sending a sub like the Kursk with a length of 154 meters to an area where the water is only 100 meters deep should be sufficient reason for someone in the Fleet Command to be punished for a final reprimand prior to suspension.
It's not possible for a submarine to swerve off a collision course just a few meters from impact. If the Kursk was hit at the bow, the torpedo room would have been damaged. This could have caused the weapons to explode.
Они тоже получают оповещение, они тоже знают, что
This is the Kursk captain from 1994 to 1997. The Americans had been warned. They knew that the maneuver had begun. Aside from that, the tide was low and torpedoes were being fired in low tide. What submarine commander would want to move into such an area and possibly be hit by a torpedo, even if the torpedoes were unarmed? And how was the commander of that American boat supposed to know that the torpedoes fired were for practice and not live ones? So who would go into the area? Therefore, I think the theory about a collision with another submarine is unconvincing.
Another theory was that a Russian ship shelled the submarine. The Kursk could have been hit by friendly fire.
Oops.
Shortly before the final radio communication with the Kursk, a missile firing exercise was in progress nearby on the flagship of the Northern Fleet, Peter the Great. Did a misdirected Russian missile hit the Kursk?
Even if a missile had struck the area where the Kursk was, it would have been a granite missile. Like those the Kursk was fitted with. It wouldn't have caused any damage, nothing whatsoever. Okay, there would have been a blast, nothing more, since it would have been just an unarmed missile without explosive charges. One can argue that such a missile had a lot of fuel in it, and it would surely have exploded. Again, there would have been just a small explosion, so what? Therefore, I refuse to believe the version that a missile fired by a surface vessel is to be blamed for the sinking of the Kursk.
The bow section of the Kursk. This is where the explosive torpedoes and anti-ship missiles were stored.
Notes on a phone says, wasn't there a theory of a faulty torpedo?
Torpedoes
That's what they're talking about
ones
right
driven
now.
by diesel. The heavyweight torpedoes were often up to 10 years old. They would have been fired several times and repaired in order to be used again. A heavyweight torpedo is driven through the water by a propeller powered by a small diesel engine. Combustion engines need oxygen. In Russian torpedoes, this oxygen is extracted from a small tank filled with hydrogen peroxide. If this tank had even a tiny leak, contact with a flammable substance could be fatal. But how could such a leak occur? What if the torpedo had been damaged while being loaded onto the submarine? This amateur video shows the loading of missiles onto the Kursk 1 week before her fateful journey. Everything seemed normal.
Последний раз я с ним
The last time I spoke to him on the phone was before they put to
Настроение у
sea.
него было хорошее. И
He was in a good
единственное,
mood.
когда я его
I asked him
спросила,
how
как у вас
things were
дела,
on the
что я
boat.
всегда интересовалась, как происходит там, что
He
на
said they were
службе.
loaded right now and
Он
getting
сказал,
ready
что
for
мы
deployment.
грузимся и готовимся к выходу в
But there was
море.
something he said that I didn't
Единственная вот
attach much
фраза,
importance to
которая,
at the time.
ну, я тогда не придала ей значения. Он
He
сказал, что
said, we
мы
are
грузим
loading
какие-то
some
новые
kind of new
торпеды.
torpedoes.
During the loading of these torpedoes, there was a significant incident. There were eyewitnesses to this event, but they are not willing to speak on camera.
While they were loading the torpedoes in the dock, some of the old ropes and chains of the crane broke. And only because the rest of them held the load did the whole torpedo not fall onto the landing stage. Part of it remained suspended in the air, but the main body of the torpedo hit the floor. In spite of that incident, the torpedo was loaded onto the Kursk. It's obvious to every civilian that we are not dealing with a sack of potatoes here. What we have is a very powerful weapon able to destroy a nuclear submarine. No.
If the hit caused small but vital damage to some of the torpedo's wiring, then as the Kursk left for the Barents Sea, the seeds of the disaster had already been sown.
Тогда начнется, ну, вот так, обычное горение.
This is an explosive specialist.
То давление будет повышаться. В этом
Then
ограниченном
small ordinary
пространстве
fire
не
starts. The energy
подвергнуться
released, however,
самому
cannot
торпеде.
escape. So the pressure
Раз
begins
так,
to increase in
давление
this limited
повышается,
space.
то, наверное, будет
Not in the
разгерметизация
submarine, but first of all, only in the torpedo
самого
itself.
резервуара,
The pressure keeps
содержащего
increasing,
керосин и так
and the tank that contains the fuel
The
does
Kursk
something
was
that
a
I couldn't
ticking
see.
time bomb.
Let's,
далее.
all right, hang on.
Самого резервуара,
The pressure keeps increasing, and the tank that contains the fuel starts leaking.
содержащего керосин и так далее.
The Kursk was a ticking time bomb, carrying 118 people towards oblivion.
Причины гибели корабля.
The causes that led to the sinking of the Kursk had to do with a flaw in a heavyweight torpedo.
После чего
That's the most Russian man ever.
возник пожар.
Shortly after that, a
объемный
ferocious
пожар на борту.
fire broke out on board.
В результате чего
The
от
rapidly
температуры,
rising
которая там
temperatures
возникла,
ignited the fuel tanks of
сработали
both the heavy
стартовики,
and
противолодочных ракет.
the lightweight anti-ship missiles stored in the same
Толстых,
section of the
тонких
submarine.
противолодочных ракет, которые были на борту. Аварийную тревогу на корабле
The
объявили,
emergency alarm went off, which corresponds with the
потому
fact that people were later found
они были
wearing
все одеты в индивидуальные средства защиты подводников, ВДА полсотни 9, так
later
называемые.
found wearing life jackets.
А
The
самое
worst thing,
самое,
however,
что
was that all
неприятно,
of this happened
что
at
это прошло
midday,
во время
lunchtime.
приема пищи, вот во время шел обед. Была готовность 2 на
The
корабле.
sub was not on full
Готовность 2.
alert.
Поэтому в первом отсеке
Most
может
likely, only
находился
one or two
1-2
crew members were doing
члена
guard duty in the first,
экипажа.
the torpedo
Главками.
section.
Knowing the danger they were in, the crew would have tried desperately to extinguish the fire.
Вся эта температура, все это приводит к
The
тому,
energy
это
released in
не
this closed-off
атмосфера,
room
замкнутый
leads to
объем.
continuously
Вся
increasing
энергия идет
pressure.
на то, чтобы давление
This happened
повышалось.
slowly. It was not a
Медленно
typical
повышалось.
TNT
Это не тот
explosion,
взрыв классический тротиловый, а плавное,
but a
медленное,
gradual,
в
slow,
течение
minute-by-minute
минут
increase
повышение
of pressure in the
давления
torpedo
в
section.
первом отсеке.
The men in the torpedo compartment were unable to contain the fire. It was already too late. At 10:29 a.m. on the 12th of August 2000, seismographs recorded the first explosion on board the Kursk. The Moscow-based Institute for Explosion Stability investigated the effect of the explosion.
So, I mean, listen to that again.
Seismographs recorded 10:29 a.m. on the 12th of August 2000. Seismographs recorded
Seismographs, earthquake detecting equipment, were the first to record this accident. That's how powerful the explosion was. That earthquake detecting equipment, quite a distance away, were the first things to pick up the explosion.
the first explosion on board the Kursk. The Moscow-based Institute for Explosion Stability investigated the effect of the explosion. Their aim was to ascertain the extent of the damage caused by the first blast. A precisely measured gas mixture was ignited in pressurized conditions identical to those in the burning torpedo compartment.
Это критическая нагрузка, давление. Я не хочу отнять цифры.
When the pressure reached a critical stage, it loosened the edges of the bulkhead
по периметру, по границам,
between the first and second section, which then acted as a battering ram. The bulkhead came loose, picked up speed, and shot across the second section.
По пространству второго отсека.
The second compartment, containing the captain and most of the officers, was no longer capable of functioning. In the rear compartments of the Kursk, the seamen tried to overcome their shock and fear and carry out the emergency drill they had practiced so many times.
Я знаю, что когда происходит авария,
This is again the Kursk captain from 94 to 97. I have experienced such emergency situations in a submarine. In most cases, caused by a short circuit. There's a fire, water leaks in this jumble, the boat is submerged.
тяжелое чувство.
You're overwhelmed by some really awful feelings. Death, mortal fear.
В первый момент кончено.
At first you think, that's it, it's all over.
Уже начинаешь бороться за живучесть.
But only a minute later, you start fighting for survival. You put on your life jacket. Automatically, your hands start doing what's necessary and what your brain orders them to do.
The bulkheads between all compartments were sealed. The crew waited for orders. But the shattered second compartment remained silent. At 10:31 a.m., the temperature reached the critical point in the first section. Hundreds of kilograms of explosives tore open the bow of the Kursk. Water flooded into the boat with incredible force. Initially, 23 people survived. They managed to escape into the last section, the escape hatch, but they could get no further.
9-й отсек.
The ninth section is not a big one.
Разместиться 20 подводникам.
There's not enough room in there for 20 men with their oxygen masks and life jackets. They must have been like sardines in a can. There is very little space by the escape hatch. The only way out was through the escape hatch at the stern of the submarine. But the hatch was buckled. Not from the impact of the boat on the seabed, but because of the blast wave that traveled in the water. So they couldn't open it. The investigators found different causes of death in the ninth section. There were people who had simply drowned. Others died because their oxygen supply ran out. Some died when the oxygen cartridges on their life jackets exploded, when they came into contact with an oil mixture. Oh, God. The water that had been heated up by the blast burnt others. And there were people who lost consciousness as a result of the pain caused by their burns. These different causes of death make it evident that the people died progressively as the disaster took its course.
But many believe that the crew died because they were failed by their superiors and ultimately by their government.
Look at how these submarine crews lived in the last few years. They didn't go out to sea. They weren't paid their wages. The rescue equipment they were given was dated and insufficient. How can someone be properly trained to work and perform on a submarine when the boat is in dock for years because it can't go out to sea? Of course, it weakens the fighting strength and the sense of responsibility. But it's not the seamen who carried the blame for this. It's the higher ranks that must be held responsible.
Some high-ranking officers have been dismissed or forced to retire, and the flawed torpedo design has been removed from all submarines. But Victor Baroness believes the real problem lies with the Russian military itself.
A lot has been said about the lessons to be drawn from the Kursk disaster. Maybe as much as there is water in the Barents Sea. The Russian people tend to talk a lot, but we can delude ourselves. The Kursk is the first signal for the government to stop cheating the army and the navy. Otherwise, they will be hiring more foreign companies to come and recover the bodies of their sailors. That's a powerful statement. Zeno the Stoic says they were probably going to defect to live on a ranch in Montana. This was in 2000, so they didn't need to defect. Maybe in a few years they will find out what happened. But my confidence that we will be told the whole truth has dwindled. 2 years have passed, and though it may be useless to say, time heals wounds. I've pulled myself together and understand now that one has to live on. I must raise my daughter and give her everything that my husband and I would have given her together. And that's the end of the video. Defecto Montana. Jeff missed the hunt for Red October reference. I've only seen that movie twice, and it was both in the movie theaters. Both times in the movie theater. So yeah, there we go. Not paying wages, not providing equipment, not taking safety seriously, perhaps dropping a dummy missile that still had an engine in it, not replacing it, putting it on there, not calling for help, not acknowledging it happened, not accepting the help, led to the deaths of 118 people. 23 of whom survived, only to, like one of the last guys said, to either die from suffocation, to drown, to having their life jackets explode due to some chemical reaction, being boiled in the water, just going unconscious from their own, just from the burns. That's a horrific way to die. And as I mentioned, in October, as soon as one of my good friends retires from the Navy and is able to talk about things, we will have him on to talk about some of these underwater incidents on submarines, as well as a submarine accident that he was personally involved in. We'll talk about that, and hopefully he'll be a semi-regular guest here on Maritime Monday. We'll have to see how it works out for him. All right, that's the end of the Maritime Monday show today. We did the same video on the Kursk about a year ago. I repeated it today because I sort of thought whether or not this thing happened in China, it sort of parallels the story of the Kursk. And so I thought it would be valuable to have that Kursk video again if we had the time, and we did. Well, as we wrap this up, just want to remind you to join us all again tomorrow with Megan Fox. Hopefully with Megan Fox, myself, Chandler Remington, and Aussie Overlord, as we do Depp v. Heard sidebar readings. We're coming to the end of this series, probably another 3 more episodes, and we can wrap it up. So Tuesday and Wednesday, we'll be doing that. There's a slightly above average chance that Nick Ricada will be joining for the readings on one or both of those days. Thursday, Chandler Remington and I will be doing our weekly O.J. Simpson chill stream as we review testimony from the O.J. Simpson trial. And then Friday morning, YNW Melly, the rapper charged with 2 counts of first-degree murder, facing the death penalty in Florida under the new law that allows a jury to sentence someone to death by a vote of only 3/4 of the jurors. Only 8 out of 12 jurors have to agree to sentence someone to death for the state to take away the life of a convicted person. There's a motion to dismiss going on Friday morning. We will be live streaming that and providing commentary as it goes on. And then Friday night, U.S. time, is my monthly, in this case, it's the Halloween Fuck It Friday the 13th stream, where we just say fuck it and we have a great panel of guests on. I read through the panel of guests. Check out Twitter, check out updates here on YouTube and whatnot, where we'll be given the updated list as things come in. It's going to be an off the hook deal, and I'm pretty sure that while this was going on, we're one step closer to confirming one of 2 potentially new guests on the stream. So we'll keep you posted as things become available. Come and join that. Bring all your shekels, all your dollars, all your dineros. Bring all your money to throw it at me, because it's just a griftathon. It's an unabashed, unashamed, super fun griftathon where I liberate all of your money from you. You throw it at me. We get really drunk in the process, and we have a great time with our guests. We'll see you then. It's Steph the Alternate's birthday today. Well, we need to go pay. She's one of the guests that'll be here on Fuck It Friday. So we better all go on and say hello to her and whatnot. Let's see where we can send you, because we're going to wrap this up right now. Let me see where we can direct you all to. And while I'm doing that, just double check to make sure you hit that like button. If you watch this for any length of time, you clearly liked it. So at least give a little like click down there to let YouTube know that you enjoyed this, and you want people to know about the law racks. You want people to know what Legal Vices is doing. All right, I'm checking to see who is streaming now, because today was a holiday. It feels so much like Sunday to me. It's one of those weird feelings. All righty, going to customization to redirect. Searching live right now. Apparently nobody is streaming live right now. So, yep. No, I don't see anybody as streaming live right now. So we'll just send you off into the wild blue yonder. Just wherever the chips fall, that's where you go. Wim says, Legal Vices, thanks for reading for us workers. Also, look into the anniversary of Friday the 13th October. Yeah. I know where you're going with that. We'll talk about that. All right, folks. Mods, thank you as always for being super mods, doing a great job. Couldn't do this without you. You guys are great. Chat, the Vice Squad chat is the best chat there is. Thank you, chat, for being here. Thank you for your support through the gifted memberships, through super chats, through the monthly membership chats. Thank you for all of that. And we will see you all tomorrow. Take care, folks. Love you guys. On behalf of Strawberry and Yoda in the other room, good night. Enjoy your